morning, dolls, and welcome to Little Gretchen's Workshop. So today I'm going to repair my childhood piano. Now this is my piano that I got along with my original dollhouse back in 1977. The piano has gone through quite a bit, including surviving a fire, and it's actually a music box. I do believe it's a Strongbecker music box piano, and I'm going to wind it up and let you dolls just hear the music before I start to repair it. The little music mechanism has been dislodged and is a little mangled, but it still plays, so I'm going to let you listen. It played the song a lot faster back then, but it was one of the sweetest sounds I remember from my childhood. So I had several ideas about how to repair the little piano. It's not really broken, it just doesn't have any piano keys. I guess a piano with no keys is broken. But never mind that, we're going to fix it. The original keys was just a printed, glued on piece of paper, but I didn't want that. Now, in my original repair many years ago, I tried to create a keyboard. And it was a great attempt at that season of my journey, but I want something different now. And today I had tried to create a brand new keyboard with the tiny square dowel stick, just cutting them to the same length and gluing them together. But I finally realized that was going to be quite tedious, and I really felt like I don't have time for all that. So I started to think of some other ways to create a keyboard quickly. I had even searched online to see if there were any tutorials about how to do keyboards, and I did see a few, but to be quite honest, dolls, I just didn't want to do it. So I have this lovely Krisenbahn kit, and it's really cheating because I took the keyboard out of the kit. Now I'm going to have to go and find a new keyboard for the Krisenbahn kit. That doesn't seem fair, but they definitely do sell them online. So I do believe I'm going to make this keyboard fit on this piano. And again, I will find an additional keyboard to replace the one I swiped from the kit. Now this keyboard is perfectly scaled and it will fit nicely on my piano, but I'm going to have to make some corrections to the piano keyboard area. So I did quite a few radical changes or modifications to the piano after the fire and really never considered what it would be like to actually try to correct it the right way. So I'm definitely going to have to do a few things to make this keyboard fit properly. So I started the process by shaving down the little nubs on the bottom of the keyboard. I really want to encourage you, dolls, to use the supplies that you have to make things work for your particular purpose. Don't ever feel bad about swapping out components from one project to another. From where I come from, that's just called tricking it out. Now, in the original repair, I had added quite a bit of wood trying to camouflage the fire damage. Now, dolls, when you're doing something like this, always be very careful and mindful of where your fingers are. Although sometimes my repairs are a little radical and unorthodox, I'm always careful not to injure my hands. And make sure you're holding it firmly and do not allow it to slip. Now that I've removed that first layer of painted wood, you can see the original color of the piano was a warm golden brown. So just to be clear, this black paint was not the original color of my little piano. But I really do like the black and I will be using it as I continue my repair. Now, I originally thought I would just niche out a little area and then just slap the piano keys in and be done, but it didn't quite work out that way. After I got through whacking and hacking everything, I realized it was really going to be a little bit more involved than I had originally anticipated. This would actually look really great if it was supposed to be an abandoned piano. So, dolls, I had to step away from things for a little while to determine what I needed to do because I had done so many things to modify or correct the damage previously. I wasn't really sure what I should do to correct it. I had broke off a part of the part that I originally intended to leave, and now I feel like I've come to a place of no return. So, dolls, for me to forge ahead, I have to go ahead and straighten up some things so I can feel like I've got a clean slate. Now that I've cleared away some of the clutter, I can kind of see my way. So I decided to use a piece of graph paper to make a small template to replace the wood that I removed on either end of the piano keyboard. Now I need to make it so that it'll fit neat and flush next to the keyboard after everything's glued in. So I have to be really careful with my measurements. Now you can see here that I've created my tiny template and I'm using it to cut both sides of the piano. And I'm going to cut two pieces out of a piece of basswood. Now this basswood is 1/16 of an inch. And I will leave a link in the description for this wood. Now here you see me laying my little template on top of the wood so I can trace it to cut it out. Now here I am sizing it up on each side now that I've cut it to determine what type of modifications I'll need to make to it to customize it to each side. And I'm definitely doing a workaround because my original repairs were not uniform, so I'm working around all of that. Now I did do a little sanding and smoothing to make sure everything was nice and neat. And when I was done sanding, I felt like everything was nice and smooth. And I felt really satisfied that those two pieces I've added match the profile of the top of the piano. So now I can go ahead and get things painted. Now there was the matter of that little piece of wood just below the keyboard. So in order to remedy that, I cut off a really, really thin coffee stir stick and prepared it to be the piece to finish off that edge below the board. Now I'm just using acrylic paint, but my brand of choice is folk art. And here I am just undercoating the parts that might show. I don't want anything giving away that this was a repair. I wanted to make it look as though this is just a little old black antique miniature piano that's always been this way. And the only way they'll know that the piano was not always this way is that they'll see my signature on the bottom. Now here I am giving two good coats to all the replacement pieces so everything will blend together nicely. And then while things were drying, I began to prepare myself to glue everything. Now somewhere along the way, I recently lost my lovely glue bottle with the teeny nozzle. A flying insect got in my workshop and I had quite a time getting him out, and I became quite destructive in the process, and when the mayhem ended, I couldn't find my bottle. I've recently gotten several other bottles with the tiny nozzle, but the one with the pink nozzle and the pearl pin in it as a closure had become my favorite. Now that the paint is dry, I went on to add glue to the areas where I'm going to put my replacement pieces. Then I carefully added each piece that I had created for both sides of the keyboard, made sure everything was lined up really neatly. And after the first one was done, I went on to do the second one the same way. Now I really like the matte black finish of this paint. Now I could have used the gloss formula, but the matte to me looks really, really old and vintage, which is exactly what I wanted. And look at that keyboard. It fits in between those two pieces perfectly, and it's exactly what I wanted. Now this was the dry fit, tri fit, so let me go ahead and add my glue. And I did a nice even layer all the way across. Now I'm actually using Weld Bond for this particular project. It was actually recommended to me by one of you precious dolls. Now after I had an ample amount of glue in, I slid it in place. And I did hold it for a moment to make sure everything lined up properly. And then I took my paint and just went around and touched up anywhere I thought was missing paint or didn't look as even, being very careful not to touch those keys. After it was dry, I thought it looked really good. Once everything was dry, I felt really satisfied and had no regrets about using the keyboard from the kit, because when I look at the kit that I had made previously, I realized making a keyboard is quite an undertaking, and after working on this wedding, I think this lovely keyboard worked out just right and just in time for the ceremony. Dolls, it's really incredible sitting here staring at this little piano, thinking about the years before the fire and all the things that have happened and all the things that brought me to this time and season in my life. This little piano holds so many memories, and some may wonder why I don't do a total overhaul, but I do like looking at it, seeing little reminders of what the little piano has been through, and smiling about the fact that in spite of everything, the charred wood, the broken pieces, the replacement pieces, it still plays its original song. The song is a little bit slower, but it still sounds sweet to me. Now, dolls, if you've enjoyed this video today and want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe. And always look for me on Mondays and Wednesdays after 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you stay tuned because I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of Little Gretchen's Workshop. Bye bye now, dolls.